Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's kick off today's video with a story that'll make you side-eye every grocery store manager from now on. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. I don't work here, or for your competitor. A few years ago, I worked in a public outreach position that had me traveling all over our area to host community meetings. Wasn't exactly glamorous, lots of folding chairs and echoey church basements and lukewarm coffee, but I loved the work. Connecting with people, hearing their concerns, and helping make things clear when it came to public services or local planning. Worth every long drive. Now, our program didn't have much of a budget, especially not for anything frivolous like refreshments, but I believe people were more willing to sit through 2 hours of zoning talk if there were cookies and soda involved, so I usually stopped at a local grocery store on my way to the meeting and grabbed a few packs of cookies and a 2-liter or two. Nothing fancy, just enough to say, hey, I appreciate your time. On this particular day, I was in a rush. I'd come from a presentation earlier and didn't have time to change, so I was still in a full suit, slacks, tie, nice shoes, the whole 9 yards. I popped into the grocery store closest to the meeting hall and headed straight for the snack aisle to grab my usual cookie haul. As I'm scanning the shelves for their best combo of price and crowd-pleasing flavors, I noticed a man eyeing me from the end of the aisle. I gave a polite smile and kept browsing. He was wearing the storage uniform and had that air of casual authority that screams, "Manager," and a few seconds later he strolls over. "Good afternoon," he says, a bit too chipper. "Find everything okay?" I nod. "Yeah, just looking for some cookies for a community meeting." "Oh yeah?" he says with that tone people use when they don't actually care about your answer. "What kind of meeting?" I smile and give my usual line. "Public outreach. We're discussing community updates and infrastructure changes. I like to bring a little something for people who take time to show up." He nods, but I can tell he's not really listening. His eyes are flicking from my tie to my name tag to my shopping basket, which at this point has exactly 1 pack of cookies in it. Then he leans in slightly. "You work for one of our competitors?" I blink. "What?" "You know, Price Mart, Eastway Grocers, one of those?" I let out a little laugh, thinking he was joking. "No, not at all. I work in public service." But he doesn't laugh. He narrows his eyes slightly. "Well, it's just that you've been walking up and down the aisles for a while. Notice you weren't picking much up. Some folks come in from corporate or from competing stores to do price checks." I chuckle again, more confused than anything. "I'm just here for cookies. I'm on a tight schedule." He crosses his arms. "Right. In the suit?" I raised an eyebrow. You know, public employees wear suits sometimes, right? Especially when they're meeting with mayors and school boards. That's when it clicked. This guy really believed I was some kind of grocery spy. He'd probably seen one too many corporate memos warning about mystery shoppers or competitors gathering intel. In his mind, I wasn't just a guy in a suit picking out cookies. I was James Bond with a clipboard there to take down his cookie empire. I tried to stay polite, but the line of questioning just didn't stop. "So you're really just here for cookies?" "Yes." "Not doing any kind of pricing comparison?" "Nope." "Not checking displays or store layout or—" "Sir," I cut in, trying to keep the edge out of my voice, "I'm just buying cookies and heading to a community meeting. I wish you a good day." I turned and walked toward the checkout line, assuming that was the end of it, but nope, he followed me. Not in a confrontational way, but he was definitely monitoring me from a short distance, like I was about to whip out a camera and start snapping intel for Big Grocery Inc. I paid for my 2 packs of cookies, thanked the cashier, and walked out. As I turned to head to my car, I saw him still standing inside the door, arms crossed, watching me. My dude, who hurt you? Was grocery espionage really that common in his world? Was he once burned by a rogue clipboard-wielding competitor in a pantsuit? Had a rival store posted a better deal on Oreos and left him forever suspicious? All I could think of as I drove off was, has this man never seen a suit before? Look, I respect being vigilant at your job, but I'm not sure a guy picking out Chips Ahoy while wearing a tie is your biggest threat. And if someone was doing corporate recon, I doubt they'd do it in the most conspicuous outfit possible while stopping to chat with employees. Anyway, I made it to the meeting just in time. The cookies were a hit. Nobody there accused me of being a saboteur. I never went back to that store. Not because I was afraid, just because I didn't want to go through another round of grocery store interrogation with Captain Cookie surveillance. Actually, grocery stores do have people price checking at competitors' locations, so checking you out might be reasonable. But then he went a bit overboard on the paranoid scale, and the price checkers are usually more subtle. And our second story. Looks can be deceiving. A Karen learns the hard way. I was involved in a minor dog bite incident a few years back. After emergency surgery and spending 4 days in the trauma ICU, I was released from the hospital with a completed and signed form to take to the DMV for a temporary 6 months to 1 year disabled placard. I was unable to put any weight on my right leg for 4 months, walking with crutches, and took 9 months to not require any type of walking aid, first walker, then cane. I went to the grocery with my sister. I still have to eat, and pulled into one of the available disabled spaces. This was prior to the formal identification of the Karen, but I'd picked up the vibes of such from when I opened the car door, hearing a loud comment as she walked past my car. These young kids these days have no respect for the law or the disabled. She kept walking and didn't look back, so I thought that was over. Oh no, I was wrong. I crutched into the store and made my way to a motorized cart. My sister was kind enough to take my crutches to the service desk where they held them so I wouldn't have 2 6-foot poles sticking out of my motor cart. My sister came along so I wouldn't have to try to stand and balance myself on one leg to reach items on the top shelves. The pre-Karen decided she hadn't made a big enough scene when she saw me in the motor cart and started almost yelling across the store, I wish the manager would do something about spoiled teenagers who just want to play on equipment meant to help those who are actually disabled. I will add that I was in my late 20s and my sister in her early 30s. We were in no way kids, or even teenagers. We ignored her tirade, to which she stormed off while we continued my shopping. We went to the checkout lanes, and who do we see at the front desk? Yup, the pre-Karen giving an earful to the poor manager on duty. We completed our sale, and my sister went to retrieve my crutches, all while the pre-Karen continued her rant. Also, I rode past her, and she began raining her tirade of insults upon me. I just waved, stopped the motor cart by the door, and my sister arrived with my crutches. I hopped out on my one good foot, then donned the crutches, then turned and waved at the pre-Karen. She needed a forklift to raise her jaw off the floor. I heard a lot of, but, he didn't look disabled. How was I supposed to know? The last thing I heard before making it out the door was the manager loudly saying, Lady, I told you I was pretty sure he was disabled. Turns out the manager was at the service desk when my sister asked them to hold on to my crutches. It's always amazing how some people assume they're the ultimate authority on who looks disabled. Newsflash, Karen, disabilities don't come with neon signs or flashing lights. You'd think someone so intent on running her mouth would have taken the time to educate herself instead of embarrassing herself in front of an entire store. And our last story. Karen hit me with her car and then ruined her own life and a bit of my knee. Hey Reddit, didn't think I'd ever be one of those people with a story worthy of a full post here, but after this absolute chaos that started with a morning bike ride and ended in court, yeah, strap in. So for context, I bike to work most days, nothing flashy, just your standard commuter setup, helmet, reflective vest, podcast in my earbuds. The bike path I use is clearly marked and separated from the road by those short, chunky plastic barriers and signs every 50 feet. We're talking bright green paint and everything. On the day in question, it was sunny and clear. I was cruising along, not a care in the world, maybe 5 minutes from work when, bam, out of nowhere, I was airborne. One moment I'm pedaling, the next I'm rolling on the pavement, trying to figure out why my bike was now 10 feet away and bent like a pretzel. And then, like a scene from a sitcom written by someone who hates cyclists, this woman, mid-50s, bedazzled sunglasses, yoga outfit, full Karen energy, comes stomping out of her red SUV. She doesn't ask if I'm okay. Nope. She immediately starts yelling. Karen, are you out of your mind? You hit my car. You were in the road like an idiot. Mind you, I'm lying on the ground, my leg throbbing, bleeding with my bike in pieces next to me. I try to sit up and explain that I was in the bike lane, but she cuts me off again, and this time she actually hits me in the shoulder. Karen, again, don't try to blame me. People like you are why insurance is so expensive. By then, a couple bystanders had gathered. Someone had already called 911, and the Karen, confident in her own twisted logic, whipped out her phone and called the cops herself, demanding someone come deal with this criminal. 2 officers showed up within minutes, and I could practically feel the karmic gears starting to turn. One officer went to check on me while the other took Karen aside. I explained what happened, how I was riding in the bike lane, how she had veered in without warning, and how she hit me again after the initial collision. I expected them to take a statement and leave it at that, but then one officer asked the magic question, "Cop, would you like to press charges for the assault?" I blinked. Absolutely. And just like that, this took a hard left turn. Karen, still smug as hell, tried to defend herself. Karen, "I have dashcam footage. I'll show you. He leapt in front of me." The cops agreed to check it out right there. They pulled the footage up on her phone. Reader, it was gold. Clear as day, you could see her swerve into the bike lane to go around some cars waiting to turn, completely ignoring the green painted line and signage. She hit me. You could hear her kid in the back seat saying, "Mom!" And then, clear as crystal, you could see her walk over and smack me on the shoulder while I was still on the ground. The officer's face, priceless. Karen's, pale. She started backpedaling immediately, claimed she didn't see the sign, that she was under stress and didn't mean to hit me, but it was too late. Long story short, this went to court. Karen was charged with assault, reckless endangerment, especially since her kid was in the car, failure to yield to a bike lane, leaving the scene. She tried to take off before the cop stopped her. The court proceedings didn't take long. The judge was not impressed, especially when Karen lost her cool in the courtroom, yelling about how hard it is to be a single mom, which, plot twist, turned out to be a lie. Her husband was there. He'd been collecting his own receipts and used this as his final nail. He filed for emergency custody the next day. After the verdict, Karen got 2 years in jail. Yep, the judge converted the sentence after her tantrum. $30,000 in restitution to me, her license revoked for reckless endangerment, full loss of custody to her ex-husband. As for me, I ended up with a broken ankle and a hairline fracture in my knee. Took 3 months of physical therapy and a new bike courtesy of her insurance. I'm riding again now, and every time I pass the intersection where it happened, I chuckle. So yeah, sometimes karma rolls in on 2 wheels. I'm glad you pressed charges. A lot of people would have just let it go and limped away, but you stood your ground. And thanks to that, this walking menace got exactly what she deserved. No one who swerves into a bike lane, hits a cyclist, and then assaults them while they're injured deserves to be behind the wheel, let alone in charge of a kid. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.